The Vaktoth Armada moved through space like silent predators, leaving only conquest in their wake. 17 systems had fallen before them, each one adding to their vast empire. Their method never changed. Find developing worlds, study them from afar, then attack with overwhelming force. Earth was meant to be just another easy victory. Commander Darrow stood tall on the command deck of the Eternal Victory, his flagship that stretched nearly 2 kilometers from bow to stern. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the blue and green planet displayed on the massive viewscreen. Earth looked peaceful, vulnerable, perfect. "The inhabitants call themselves humans," reported Officer Sook, sliding a data tablet toward Darrow. "They have achieved nuclear capabilities and primitive satellite technology, but possess no meaningful space defenses. Most importantly, they remain divided into competing nation-states." Darrow made a sound of satisfaction in his throat. The easiest targets are always the ones that fight among themselves. The Vaktoth had encountered this pattern repeatedly. Species that spent their resources fighting each other rarely developed the unified defense systems needed to repel an invasion from beyond their world. Intelligence suggested humans were particularly fractious, with thousands of years of continuous warfare in their history. Their military capabilities, Darrow asked, scrolling through the intelligence report. "Primitive compared to ours," Sook replied. "They rely on chemical propellants for most weapons. Their aircraft cannot leave the atmosphere. Their naval vessels are confined to their oceans. They have some nuclear weapons, but the delivery systems are slow and easily intercepted." Darrow nodded, completing his review of the data. The conquest of Earth would follow the same efficient protocol that had worked 17 times before. First, disable their satellite network to blind them. Second, establish air superiority over major population centers. Third, demonstrate overwhelming force to trigger immediate surrender. "Prepare the first wave," Darrow commanded, his voice echoing across the bridge. Standard protocol. No communications, no warnings. Their satellite network should be disabled within the hour. The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. Invasion was a routine operation for the Vaktoth. Officer Sook transmitted the attack commands to the 50 smaller vessels that would form the first wave. These ships had been designed specifically for atmospheric entry and urban intimidation. Massive, dark vessels that would block out the sun as they hovered over Earth's cities. "First wave vessels report ready, Commander," Sook announced. "Begin the operation," Darrow ordered. From the observation deck, Darrow watched as the attack ships departed the fleet, moving toward Earth in perfect formation. He allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. By the end of the planet's rotation cycle, humans would understand their place in the galaxy. By the end of their week, Earth would be officially processed into the Vaktoth Empire. The first wave approached Earth's orbit, targeting the primitive satellite network. Their energy weapons flashed, destroying communications and observation satellites with surgical precision. Within minutes, over 60% of Earth's orbital technology had been reduced to floating debris. "Satellite network neutralization proceeding as expected," reported Officer Sook. Moving to Phase 2. The attack ships continued their approach, entering Earth's atmosphere over what intelligence identified as major population centers: Beijing, New York, London, Moscow, Tokyo, and 20 other strategic locations. The vessels descended through clouds, their massive hulls becoming visible to the humans below. In New York, the Vaktoth ship lowered itself until it hovered 1 kilometer above the city center, casting a shadow over dozens of blocks. Similar scenes played out across the planet as the first wave took position. "All ships in position," Sook reported, "ready for intimidation display." This was Darrow's favorite part, the moment when a species first truly comprehended how outmatched they were. He had witnessed it 16 times before. The panic, the fear, the inevitable surrender. "Begin the display," he ordered. Across Earth, the Vaktoth ships activated their intimidation protocols. Energy shields hummed to life, creating shimmering barriers around each vessel. Weapon ports opened, revealing cannons capable of leveling city blocks. From the underside of each ship, smaller craft emerged, fighter vessels designed to swarm and overwhelm any resistance. On the Eternal Victory, Darrow waited for the expected reports of human panic. Instead, Officer Sook looked confused as she studied her console. "Commander, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the surface." "Explain," Darrow demanded. "It appears the humans err." Sook's explanation was cut short as the ship rocked violently. "Status report," Darrow bellowed. "We've lost contact with 4 first-wave vessels," another officer reported, his voice tight with disbelief. "New York, Beijing, London, and Moscow units are not responding." Darrow's 4 eyes blinked in rapid succession. "That's impossible. Check your systems." "Confirmed, Commander. 4 ships destroyed, others reporting unexpected resistance." The view screen shifted to show footage from the remaining ships. What Darrow saw defied all intelligence reports. In cities across the planet, concealed weapon emplacements were emerging from buildings, roads, and parks. Anti-aircraft systems, unlike anything they had detected, were firing in coordinated patterns. Most shocking of all, the attacks were not random. They targeted specific vulnerabilities in Vakhtov ship design. "How could they know our weak points?" Darrow demanded. "How could they have these weapons?" Officer Sook worked frantically at her console. "Commander, we're detecting a global defense network. It appears the humans have been preparing for extraterrestrial contact, possibly for years." In Tokyo, the Vakhtov ship that should have been inspiring terror was instead surrounded by advanced fighter aircraft that moved with unexpected agility. In Rio de Janeiro, ground-based energy weapons, technology humans shouldn't possess, were penetrating Vakhtov shields. "Second wave," Darrow ordered. "Launch immediately. Full combat protocols." But as the second wave prepared to launch, new alerts sounded across the bridge. "Commander, we're detecting spacecraft launching from Earth's moon," an officer reported with disbelief. "Our sensors didn't detect any lunar base during our approach." Darrow stared at the view screen as small, angular craft rose from concealed bases on the lunar surface. The design was crude but functional, and the energy signatures suggested they were powered by technology similar to Vakhtov systems. "How is this possible?" Darrow whispered. The truth dawned on him slowly. The humans had known they were coming. Somehow, this supposedly primitive species had detected the Vakhtov approach and prepared accordingly. Worse, they had unified their planet's resources toward a single goal: defense. As reports of more destroyed first-wave ships flooded in, Darrow faced a situation no Vakhtov commander had encountered in the Empire's long history of conquest. The supposedly easy target was fighting back with unexpected coordination and technology that should have been beyond their reach. "Order all remaining first-wave ships to retreat," Darrow commanded. "We need to reassess." As the surviving Vakhtov vessels struggled to escape Earth's atmosphere, many failing as human weapons continued to find their marks, Commander Darrow realized a terrible truth. The Vakhtov had studied human technology, but had overlooked something far more dangerous: human adaptability. Earth was not just another target. Somehow, humanity had prepared for this day. And now, the hunters had become the hunted. General Kim stood at the center of Earth Defense Command, a vast underground complex beneath the Korean peninsula. Screens surrounding her showed alien ships entering Earth's atmosphere over major cities worldwide. She had trained for this moment her entire career, but seeing the actual invasion still made her heart race. "Status report," she demanded, her voice calm despite the chaos unfolding. Colonel Park looked up from his station. 53 alien vessels have breached our atmosphere. They're positioning above major population centers exactly as our simulations predicted. Kim nodded. 15 years ago, the Deep Space Listening Post on the far side of the moon had detected strange signals. What initially seemed like cosmic background noise revealed patterns that could only be artificial. World leaders had been faced with an impossible choice: announce the potential threat and risk global panic, or prepare in secret. They chose secrecy. "The Vaktoth ships match our intelligence perfectly," reported Major Lee, studying sensor data. "Shield configurations and weapon ports are exactly where our probes indicated." Kim allowed herself a small smile. The tiny stealth probes they had sent to observe the Vaktoth fleet had worked perfectly. For weeks, these devices had clung to the hulls of the alien vessels, transmitting valuable data about their technology and vulnerabilities. "They're beginning intimidation displays," Park announced as the screens showed alien ships opening weapon ports and deploying smaller craft. Just as expected. Kim took a deep breath. The moment of truth had arrived. "Activate AEGIs," she commanded. The order raced through secure communication networks to defense centers on every continent. Within seconds, the Earth's hidden defenses began to awaken. In New York City, tourists in Times Square pointed at the massive alien ship hovering above. None noticed as the glass facade of the Sanders Tower slid aside, revealing missile batteries that had been disguised as architectural elements for over a decade. In Beijing, sections of the Great Wall that had been closed for restoration suddenly opened to reveal energy cannons reverse-engineered from technology found in a crashed scout ship years earlier. In London, the famous Thames Barrier shifted configuration, panels separating to allow hidden platforms to rise from underwater bunkers. Across the world, the pattern repeated. Ordinary infrastructure transformed. Public parks revealed anti-aircraft systems. Office buildings opened to expose missile arrays. Power stations redirected energy to massive defensive shields. At Earth Defense Command, Kim watched as thousands of green lights illuminated on her tactical display, indicating defensive systems coming online. "All AEGIS systems active," Park confirmed. "Waiting for your command." Kim studied the alien vessels, noting how they hovered confidently, clearly expecting to face a primitive and disorganized response. "They have no idea what's waiting for them," she said softly, then raised her voice. "All sectors, commence defensive operations. Protocol Thunderbird." Across Earth, humanity's carefully hidden weapons opened fire with perfect coordination. In Tokyo, missiles streaked upward from buildings that had been designed with launch tubes disguised as elevator shafts. The projectiles swarmed the alien vessel, exploiting a weakness in shield modulation that Earth scientists had identified years ago. In Cairo, energy weapons fired from platforms hidden beneath the desert sand, their targeting systems linked to a global network that shared data in real time. In Rio de Janeiro, specialized electromagnetic pulse generators activated, disrupting the alien ship's communication systems exactly as Earth scientists had predicted they would. "Direct hits reported in all major theaters," Major Lee announced, her voice rising with excitement. 4 alien vessels confirmed destroyed. 6 more have sustained critical damage. Kim watched the tactical display as red dots representing alien ships began to disappear. The Vaktoth's first wave was being decimated by a defense network they never knew existed. "They expected us to fight like we fight each other," Kim told her command staff. "They don't understand that humans unite against external threats." For decades, humans had fought among themselves, dividing along national, religious, and ideological lines. But the potential alien threat had changed everything. World leaders had realized that survival required unity and secrecy. The United Earth Defense Coalition had been formed, pulling together the brightest minds from every nation. Military rivals had shared technology. Scientists who once competed now collaborated. Resources that might have been used for war against other humans were redirected to prepare for this moment. "We're detecting a second wave of alien ships preparing to launch from their fleet," Park reported. "And, wait, something's happening with their main vessel." The main screen showed the massive Vaktoth flagship, the Eternal Victory, changing position. Energy readings indicated weapon systems coming online. "They're preparing a direct attack," Kim said. "Activate Phase 2 defenses." This was the moment Kim had worried about most. If the aliens decided to simply bombard Earth from orbit, much of AEGIS would be useless. But humanity had prepared for this possibility too. Lunar defense platforms coming online, majorly reported. On the far side of the moon, hidden bases that had been constructed under the guise of scientific research facilities revealed their true purpose. Massive cannons, powered by fusion reactors, swiveled to target the Vaktoth fleet. Launch lunar interceptors, Kim ordered. Hangar doors opened across the lunar surface, releasing spacecraft that appeared primitive but contained hybrid technology. Human innovation combined with reverse-engineered alien systems from the scout ship crash. The lunar forces moved into position, preparing to engage any Vaktoth vessels that attempted orbital bombardment. Meanwhile, the battle in Earth's atmosphere continued. The second wave of Vaktoth ships met the same fate as the first: unexpected resistance from defenses they couldn't have detected during their surveillance. "Their communications are in disarray," reported the signals officer. "We're intercepting transmissions indicating total confusion." Kim nodded. They expected terror. They expected surrender. They never expected a fight. On the screens, Kim could see the remaining Vaktoth ships attempting to retreat. Some made it back to space. Others, damaged by Earth's defenses, lost control and crashed into unpopulated areas, exactly as planned for later recovery and study. "Commander, the main Vaktoth vessel is retreating to a higher orbit," Park announced. "They appear to be abandoning the attack for now." A cheer went up around the command center, but Kim silenced it with a raised hand. "This is only the beginning," she said firmly. "They'll be back with a new strategy. We've revealed our defenses now, and they'll adapt." She turned to face her staff, her expression determined. "But so will we. Humanity has always been best at adapting. And now, thanks to those ships we've downed, we have more of their technology to study." The room fell silent as Kim's words sank in. They had won the first battle, but the war was just beginning. Earth had surprised the Vaktoth this time, but the element of surprise was now gone. "Begin recovery operations for all downed alien craft," Kim ordered. "I want every piece of their technology in our labs within 24 hours. As her staff hurried to comply, Kim turned back to the main screen, watching as the Vaktoth flagship retreated further from Earth. For the first time in their conquering history, the aliens had met a species that was ready for them. "We've spent 15 years preparing for today," Kim said quietly. "Now we need to prepare for tomorrow." Commander Darrow paced the bridge of the Eternal Victory, his forearms clenched in rage. The holographic displays showed the devastating losses his fleet had suffered. 37 ships destroyed. Nearly 4,000 Vaktoth warriors dead. A disaster without precedent in the Empire's long history of conquest. "How is this possible?" he demanded. These humans were supposed to be primitive. Officer Sook's scales had paled with stress as she reviewed the battle data. "The intelligence was wrong, Commander. They were prepared for us. Their weapons targeted our shield weak points with precision." Darrow slammed his fist on the command console. In 17 previous conquests, no species had ever destroyed more than 5 Vaktoth vessels. Yet these humans had eliminated nearly half his invasion force in a single engagement. "The human defenses were hidden," continued Officer Sook, "concealed within their existing structures. Our scans showed nothing unusual." The bridge fell silent as the implications became clear. Either the humans possessed sensor-blocking technology far beyond their expected capabilities, or they had somehow known the Vaktoth were coming and had prepared accordingly. "They were waiting for us," Darrow said finally. "This changes everything." He turned to face his command staff. The standard invasion protocol had failed catastrophically. Now they would have to use methods reserved for only the most resistant worlds. "Prepare the planetary bombardment weapons," Darrow ordered. "We will revert to scorched earth tactics." The weapons officers moved quickly, activating systems that had rarely been used before. The Eternal Victory carried devices capable of triggering extinction-level events on a planetary surface, weapons designed not to conquer but to destroy. "Target their largest population centers first," Darrow commanded. We'll burn their civilization to ash. As the bombardment systems powered up, a strange alert sounded from multiple stations on the bridge. "Commander, we're experiencing system anomalies," reported the chief engineer. "Power fluctuations in the main weapons array." Darrow turned sharply. "Explain." "Unknown, sir. The targeting computers are not responding correctly. The power distribution network is. It seems to be rerouting commands." More alerts sounded across the bridge. Control screens flickered, displaying strange symbols before returning to normal. "What is happening?" Darrow demanded. In a hidden bunker beneath Seoul, Jun sat hunched over his terminal, his fingers moving rapidly across the interface as he navigated the alien computer systems. Around him, 20 of Earth's best hackers worked with similar intensity, their faces illuminated by the glow of their screens. "I'm in their power distribution grid," Jun announced, redirecting energy away from their weapon systems. "Good work," said Director Park, watching the operation from behind the team. "How long can you maintain control?" Jun didn't look up from his screen. "Unknown. Their security protocols are adapting, but not as quickly as we hoped. The translation matrix is holding." When the first alien ships had been shot down, recovery teams had immediately extracted their computer cores. Earth scientists had spent years preparing for this moment, developing systems that could interface with potential alien technology based on universal computing principles. The gamble had paid off. Within hours of capturing intact Vaktoth systems, the hacking team had identified vulnerabilities in their quantum neural networks. The aliens had never encountered a serious cyber threat before, making their advanced systems surprisingly vulnerable to certain types of attacks. "They're trying to lock us out," called another hacker. "Changing encryption patterns." Jun nodded. "Switch to Protocol Epsilon. Use the worm." The team deployed their most sophisticated weapon, a self-modifying code designed to mimic the Vaktoth's own neural command structures. As it penetrated deeper into the alien systems, it caused cascading failures that appeared to be natural malfunctions. Back on the Eternal Victory, chaos had overtaken the bridge. "All weapons systems offline," reported the increasingly panicked weapons officer. "Life support fluctuating on decks 7 through 12. Communications with the remaining fleet are failing." Commander Darrow stared at the malfunctioning displays in disbelief. Is this some kind of human attack? How could they affect our systems from their planet? Officer Sook's eyes widened suddenly. "Commander, new contacts detected. Multiple vessels approaching from the direction of Earth's moon." The main view screen shifted to show several dozen small spacecraft emerging from the lunar surface. Their design was crude, clearly of human origin, but sensors detected energy signatures that matched Vaktoth technology. "Impossible," Darrow whispered. "They've weaponized our technology." On the lead lunar assault craft, Captain Hannah checked her systems one final time. The hybrid drive hummed beneath her feet, human engineering powered by the antimatter reactor salvaged from a downed Vaktoth ship. "All ships report ready," her executive officer confirmed. "Weapon systems online." Hannah nodded. "Begin approach. Formation Delta. Remember your training. These ships don't handle like our simulators." The lunar fleet accelerated toward the Vaktoth Armada. For years, humanity had maintained what appeared to be scientific outposts on the moon. In reality, they were military installations, preparing for the day when extraterrestrial contact might turn hostile. When the Vaktoth arrived, these bases had revealed their true purpose. The hybrid ships had been assembled in record time, combining Earth's most advanced aerospace technology with components reverse-engineered from the scout ship that had crashed years earlier. "They're not reacting to our approach," reported the sensor officer. "Their defense systems appear compromised." Hannah allowed herself a small smile. The cyber team came through. Weapons free. Target their engines and communication arrays. The human fleet opened fire, their weapons finding gaps in the Vaktoth shields that would normally have been protected by automated defense systems. Aboard the Eternal Victory, Commander Darrow watched in horror as the human ships swarmed his crippled fleet. How did they get into space? He demanded. Their technology shouldn't allow this. They've adapted our propulsion systems, Officer Sook replied, her voice hollow with shock. And our weapons technology. The lunar bases were hidden from our sensors. The bridge rocked as the first direct hits struck the flagship. Emergency alarms blared as damage reports flooded in. We need to retreat, Darrow decided. We cannot win this battle with compromised systems. But retreat was becoming impossible. The lunar fleet had positioned itself to cut off the Vaktoth's escape route, forcing them to fight through to reach safer space. In the hacking bunker, Jun watched the battle unfold through satellite feeds. Their main systems are attempting a complete restart, he reported. We're going to lose access soon. Director Park nodded. You've done enough. The lunar fleet will handle the rest. The space battle intensified as the remaining Vaktoth ships regained some control of their systems. They fought with the desperation of predators who suddenly found themselves prey. Captain Hana's voice crackled over the comm system. Target the flagship's propulsion. If we can capture the command vessel intact, we gain access to their entire technological database. The lunar fleet concentrated fire on the Eternal Victory's engine section, carefully avoiding critical systems that might trigger a catastrophic explosion. Commander Darrow felt his ship shudder as another round of human weapons found their mark. How could they know so much about our designs? He wondered aloud. Sir, we've lost propulsion, the engineering officer reported. We're drifting. Darrow looked at the tactical display. Half his remaining fleet had been destroyed or disabled. The rest were fighting desperately against the human ships that seemed to anticipate their every move. Send the emergency signal to the homeworld, Darrow ordered. The humans are not as advertised. They are a grave threat. Officer Sook worked at her console. Communications are still compromised, Commander. The signal isn't going through. For the first time in his long military career, Commander Darrow faced the possibility of defeat. Not just a tactical setback, but a complete failure of the Vaktoth conquest machine. Prepare boarding defenses, he ordered grimly. The humans will try to take the ship. As he spoke, the first human boarding craft attached themselves to the Eternal Victory's hull, cutting through with tools clearly designed for this specific purpose. The Vaktoth, who had conquered 17 worlds without serious resistance, now faced an enemy who had not only repelled their initial attack, but was now carrying the fight to them, using their own technology against them. The hunters had become the hunted. The conquest of Earth had become something no Vaktoth commander had ever experienced before, a desperate fight for survival. Commander Darrow stood on the damaged bridge of the Eternal Victory, his once pristine uniform now torn and stained with the blue blood of his own species. Emergency lights cast an eerie glow across the command center as repair crews worked frantically to restore critical systems. Status report, Darrow demanded, his voice raspy from hours of shouting orders. Officer Sook limped to his side, her left arm hanging useless after a power conduit explosion. Not good, Commander. We've lost 38% of our remaining fleet. The human attacks continue to intensify. The main view screen flickered to life, showing the battle unfolding around them. The sight made Darrow's 4 hearts sink. Human vessels darted between his ships, their movements chaotic and unpredictable. Their designs were crude, welded metal and exposed components, but they moved with deadly purpose. Look at how they fight, Darrow said, pointing to a cluster of human ships harassing one of his cruisers. They're using attack patterns I've never seen before. The human vessels seemed to operate independently yet somehow maintained perfect coordination. 3 small ships would draw fire from the Vaktoth defenses while a 4th would slip through to deliver a precise strike against vulnerable systems. When the Vaktoth adapted to this tactic, the humans immediately changed their approach. Bring up the historical combat records, Darrow ordered. Show me anything similar to these tactics. The tactical officer worked his console. Nothing matches, Commander. I've checked our records from all 17 previous conquests. No species has ever fought like this. A massive explosion flashed on the view screen as another Vaktoth ship fell to the human assault. The bridge crew flinched collectively. How could they adapt so quickly? Darrow demanded, slamming his fist on the damaged command console. It's been less than 2 days since our first attack. They shouldn't have been able to understand our technology, let alone use it against us. Officer Sook stepped forward, her analytical mind working despite the pain of her injuries. Commander, I believe I have an answer. I've been studying their historical records since we captured their satellite data. She gestured to a junior officer, who projected a series of images on the secondary screen, scenes of human warfare throughout their history. Their entire history is nothing but adaptation through conflict, Sook explained. Their planet has thousands of distinct cultures that have been fighting each other for millennia. They've developed more forms of warfare than all previously conquered species combined. Darrow stared at the images, humans fighting with primitive weapons, then machines, then aircraft, then nuclear weapons, constantly evolving their tactics with each new technology. Unlike other species who developed in relative isolation or with limited conflicts, humans never stopped fighting each other. Sook continued. They've had to constantly adapt to survive. It's in their nature. The ship rocked as another hit struck their weakened shields. Darrow steadied himself against a console. Battle update, he demanded. The humans have split their forces, reported the tactical officer. One group continues to engage our fleet while another has broken off towered. The officer paused, checking his readings. Commander, they're heading for our drone carriers. Darrow's eyes widened. The drone carriers held thousands of automated attack craft, the second phase of invasion that they hadn't even been able to deploy yet. Redirect defensive forces to protect the carriers, Darrow ordered. Those drones represent a third of our offensive capability. But the order came too late. On the view screen, human ships surrounded the first drone carrier, their weapons targeting specific external systems rather than trying to destroy the massive vessel. They're not attacking to destroy, Sook realized. They're capturing the drones. In a research facility beneath the Pacific Ocean, Dr. Yoon hunched over a captured Vaktoth drone, her team working frantically around her. The automated attack craft was roughly the size of a small car, its sleek design built for atmospheric combat. How's the neural interface coming? She asked, not looking up from her work. Dr. Kang, the team's computer specialist, continued typing commands into his terminal. Nearly there. Their command protocol is complex, but follows logical patterns. It's built to receive orders from a central intelligence, but has autonomous capabilities. Can we override it? Dr. Yoon asked. Kang nodded. I believe so. The drones are designed to recognize friendly and enemy signatures based on embedded recognition codes. If we can alter those codes, we could make them see their own ships as enemies. Yoon finished. The team had been working nonstop since the first drones had been captured during the initial invasion. While Earth's military engaged the Vaktoth fleet directly, the scientific division had focused on turning the aliens' technology against them. I've got it, Kang announced suddenly. The recognition protocol is isolated. We can rewrite it. Yoon moved to his side, studying the alien code patterns on his screen. How many drones can we control at once? If we upload the modified protocol to their command carrier, it would affect all drones connected to that network, potentially thousands. Yoon straightened, making a quick decision. Do it. Then transmit the procedure to all research stations. Every captured drone gets the same modification. Back in space, Commander Darrow watched with growing horror as human forces breached the outer defenses of the main drone carrier. They've gained access to the launch bay, reported the tactical officer. We've lost communication with the carrier command crew. Darrow's mind raced through options, each less appealing than the last. The drone carrier contained 5,000 attack craft. If the humans gained control of them, destroy the carrier, Darrow ordered reluctantly. We cannot allow them to capture those drones. Self-destruct command sent, the communications officer confirmed. Then, after a pause, Commander, the carrier is not responding. Self-destruct protocols have been locked out. On the view screen, the massive drone carrier suddenly came alive, its launch bays opening. Darrow watched in disbelief as swarms of drones poured out, their engines glowing against the darkness of space. "The drones are launching," Sook whispered. "All of them." For a brief, hopeful moment, Darrow thought the carrier crew had managed to activate the drones against the human attackers. That hope died as the swarm turned and headed directly toward the Vaktoth fleet. "Incoming drones are targeting our vessels," shouted the defensive systems officer. "They're registering as hostile." "That's impossible," Darrow replied. "Override their targeting systems." "We can't, Commander. They're not accepting command codes." The swarm descended upon the Vaktoth fleet like a metallic plague. The drones, designed to penetrate planetary defenses, now turned their precise weapons against their creators. They knew every weakness in Vaktoth ship design because they had been built to complement those same designs. Ship after ship reported drone attacks. Their small size made them difficult to target with weapons designed for larger vessels, and their sheer numbers overwhelmed defensive systems. Second drone carrier reporting the same issue, the communications officer announced, his voice rising with panic. "Their drones have been compromised and are launching against us." Darrow watched as his fleet, already battered by the human counterattack, now faced betrayal from their own technology. The carefully planned invasion had transformed into a nightmare beyond imagination. "How did they do this?" he asked, more to himself than to his officers. "How did they turn our own weapons against us so quickly?" Officer Sook studied the tactical display, her analytical mind still searching for understanding even as disaster unfolded around them. "They're survivors, Commander," she said quietly. "Their whole history shows it. They've faced extinction-level events multiple times and adapted. They'd fought wars with weapons that could have destroyed their entire species, yet they survived. They've been preparing for threats like us, perhaps for generations." The Eternal Victory shuddered as the first wave of reprogrammed drones reached the flagship. Alarm klaxons blared as the drones targeted critical systems with precision strikes. "We have no choice," Darrow said finally. "Signal all remaining ships. Full retreat. We're abandoning the Earth campaign." As the order went out, Darrow realized that for the first time in Vaktoth history, they would return to the Empire not as conquerors, but as the conquered. Earth would not be recorded as their 18th victory, but as their first decisive defeat. The humans had done the impossible. They had taken the most advanced technology in the known galaxy and turned it against its makers in a matter of days. They had not merely resisted, they had reversed the tide of battle entirely. As the crippled flagship struggled to reach escape velocity, Darrow made a mental note to ensure that all records carried a clear warning about Earth and its inhabitants. This species does not fall. They adapt. They survive. They conquer. 6 months had passed since the skies above Earth first darkened with Vaktoth ships. The world had changed profoundly in that time. Commander Darrow stood in the center of the United Earth Council chamber, his 4 arms bound by restraints that looked simple but contained technology his people had never imagined. The chamber itself was a marvel of human ingenuity, a perfect circle with representatives from every nation seated in rising tiers around him. The room had been built specifically for this moment, a physical symbol of humanity's new unity. Darrow's once impressive uniform hung in tatters on his frame. He had lost weight during his captivity, though he had been treated well, better than he would have treated human prisoners. That fact alone confused him deeply. General Kim sat directly across from him, her posture straight and her eyes sharp. Beside her sat the other architects of humanity's defense and subsequent victory, scientists, military leaders, and political figures who had worked in secret for 15 years to prepare for this day. "The Council will now hear final statements from the prisoner," announced the Council President, a tall man from an African nation. Darrow looked around at the faces watching him. In his long military career, he had seen many conquered species. Usually, they showed fear, despair, or hatred. These humans displayed something different: curiosity. "You were supposed to be primitive," Darrow said through the translator device attached to his throat. "You were supposed to fall like all the others." His words echoed through the chamber. The translator conveyed not just his words, but also his tone, a mixture of bitterness and genuine bewilderment. General Kim leaned forward, her hands clasped together on the table before her. "That was your first mistake. You assumed we would respond like the others." She stood and walked toward him, stopping just a few feet away. "Your second mistake was giving us access to your technology." Darrow's outer eyelids blinked rapidly, a sign of discomfort in his species. "How did you know we were coming? Our stealth technology should have been undetectable." Kim smiled slightly. "We didn't know it was you specifically, but we've been watching the stars for centuries, wondering if we were alone. 15 years ago, we detected anomalies in the outer solar system, tiny disturbances that most would have dismissed. But some of us recognized them for what they were: observation probes." She returned to her seat. "Once we knew someone was watching, we had a choice: panic or prepare. We chose to prepare." Darrow looked down at the floor, then back up at the council. "In 17 conquests, no species has ever been ready for us. No species has ever turned our own technology against us. Humans have always been good at adaptation," said Dr. Yoon, the head scientist who had led the drone reprogramming effort. "It's how we survived on a planet with predators faster and stronger than us. It's how we spread to every corner of our world despite different climates. It's how we've survived our own worst mistakes." Darrow seemed to consider this. "What happens now? Will you exterminate us as revenge for our attempted invasion?" The question hung in the air. Darrow had clearly expected this outcome. It was what the Vaktoth would have done to any species that had defeated them so thoroughly. General Kim shook her head. "No, that's not our way. At least, it's not the way we've chosen moving forward." She gestured toward a large screen on the wall. It flickered to life, showing images of massive construction projects in Earth orbit. "These are our new shipyards," she explained. "We're building vessels that combine our creativity with your technology. Not warships, though they will be well defended. These are explorer ships." The images shifted to show sleek spacecraft under construction, clearly influenced by Vaktoth design but with distinctly human elements. "You came to conquer," Kim continued. "We're building these to explore, to learn, to connect. The 17 worlds you conquered will soon receive visitors from Earth, not invaders, liberators." Darrow's 4 eyes widened. "You would challenge the entire Vaktoth Empire. Even with our technology, you are still one world against many." Dr. Yoon stepped forward. "We've studied your records from the captured ships. Your empire conquers through fear and superior technology. We've already proven we can match your technology, and humans don't frighten easily." The council president rose from his seat. "Commander Darrow, you and the surviving members of your crew will not be executed. You will be offered a choice: remain on Earth as cultural ambassadors to help us understand the wider galaxy, or be returned to your empire with a message." "What message?" Darrow asked. "That Earth is open to peaceful contact with all species, including the Vaktoth. But we will never be conquered." Later that day, General Kim stood at the observation deck of the new orbital command station. Through the massive window, she could see Earth below and the construction of humanity's first true interstellar vessels above. Colonel Park joined her, looking out at the same view. "The Vaktoth homeworld has responded to our transmission. They're unsettled by our offer of diplomatic relations." Kim smiled slightly. "They should be. Everything they know about conquest has been challenged. Do you think they'll try again? Come back with a larger force?" Kim considered the question. "They might. But next time, we'll be waiting in space, not just on Earth, and we'll have had more time with their technology." She pointed to one of the nearly completed ships. Its hull gleamed in the sunlight, a mixture of Vaktuth metals and human design principles. "The New Horizon will launch next week," she said, "the first of our explorer vessels. It will visit the nearest world conquered by the Vaktuth. We've already received transmissions from resistance groups there." "Hard to believe how much has changed in 6 months," Park remarked. Kim nodded. Humanity has always changed quickly under pressure. The invasion united us in ways nothing else could have. Below them, Earth continued its peaceful rotation. Borders that had once divided nations were becoming increasingly meaningless as the planet embraced its new identity, not as a collection of competing countries, but as the homeworld of a species ready to take its place among the stars. In the detention facility, where the Vaktuth prisoners were housed, Commander Darrow sat alone in his quarters, watching a screen that showed human news broadcasts. He was learning their languages, studying their cultures, trying to understand how a supposedly primitive species had defeated the mighty Vaktuth. The answer was becoming clearer each day. Humans weren't a single culture that could be easily understood and predicted. They were thousands of cultures, millions of ideas, billions of individuals, all different, all adapting, all creating new solutions to problems. In his report to the Vaktuth homeworld, the one he knew would reshape their understanding of the galaxy, Darrow had written a simple warning that he hoped his leaders would heed. "Do not underestimate the humans. They do not think as we do. They do not fight as we do. They turned our greatest weapons against us in days. They mastered our technology in weeks. And now they build ships to free the worlds we conquered." Earth was not merely another target. Earth is something new in our experience, a world that conquers its conquerors. Across the galaxy, as news of the Vaktuth defeat spread, a new saying emerged among spacefaring species who had lived in fear of invasion. All worlds have defenses. Earth has humans. And for the first time in generations, the stars seemed a little less threatening to the smaller worlds that had lived in the shadow of empire.